to bring in one more time our friend Brandon Robinson. He's the host of the Scoop B Radio podcast. He's a senior writer for Basketball Society. Check him out on Twitter at Scoop B. Brandon, how you doing tonight, my friend?
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. How you doing?
Good. Slow news week, right, for you?
Yeah, right. Playoffs are going on, so writing, and you mentioned I'm a senior writer,
Yep.
Basketball Society. Also, I'm a contributor to Heavy.com as well. So, a lot of newsers going on, a lot of interviews. I'm driving, and the podcast is doing well. We got 3.5 million streams last year, and
Wow.
available on all platforms. So, a lot of stuff going on, even if it's not any free agency news, any trade news. The show still has to go on in other capacities.
Absolutely. Well, you got some great material last week. So without giving the Lakers organization any notice whatsoever, Brandon, Magic Johnson gets on a podium and tells the media that he is stepping down. What's going on there, Brandon? There has to be more than meets the eye to this situation. What do we not know about his abrupt end to his tenure with the Lakers?
Just a lot of behind-the-scenes chatter in the front office. Everybody is just a name. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to work together. So when you mix a variety of just various personalities in one, they clash. You look at Magic Johnson. He was in a tough situation because he's a former player of the Los Angeles Lakers organization who became, figurehead or president, if you will, of an organization, president of basketball operations. And the thing that kind of stands out is, you're working with the general manager, who was Rob Pelinka, who has history as an agent, a guy that's negotiating deals and making things happen. And Rob Pelinka was brought in because he has relationships with various organizations, the general managers and owners and presidents, and he was brought in to kind of seal the deal to prepare for this summer. And, we also have someone named LeBron James, who is a brand in and of itself within Los Angeles, and a lot of confusion because, the injury on the Christmas Day happened, and then, they weren't able to seal the deal with Anthony Davis. So a lot of stuff going on, and Magic Johnson, as you mentioned, just stepped out as president of basketball operations, and there are some names floating around as who could potentially replace Mr. Johnson, and, that's where we are.
So you mentioned AD. My guy Dave Griffin, he got a job. He is he's pushing for possibly AD to stay with the Pelicans. Is this true?
I mean, that's what he said. He said that he said in his introductory press conference today in New Orleans that with in relation to Clutch and Rich Paul, you're either in or you're all in or you're all out. And based upon what he said, you can deduct whatever you want. But I think when a trade request as public as Anthony Davis through Rich Paul, there's a lot of mea culpa that goes on. Can you stay? This situation reminds me so much of Dwight Howard in Orlando when he wanted out. And then, if I'm not mistaken, he signed that extension and he ended up staying. And then just the decay that happened after that. Do you really want to deal with that? And so when you look at the trade deadline, it didn't happen there. But then you look at the draft coming up. There could be something was made around that time. And, you look at the Boston Celtics as a front runner based upon their 4 draft picks. From what I've been reading, those draft picks aren't that good. You've got like 14th, 23rd, 30th, somewhere in that range, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm off, don't sue me. But I know 14 is one of those numbers that's there. And then you offer Jason Tatum and potentially Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart is hurt right now, and some people feel as though Jason Tatum is not playing to his expectation. So what do? I can tell you that the Denver Nuggets were a team that had inquired with the Pelicans before the trade deadline about a potential deal. And then you also have Michael Porter involved in that deal. And, other teams are going to start looking because you saw what the Lakers were asked of. So now you get less than what you would have maybe have gotten before. But there's a lot of things to figure out. So if you ask me today what I think, he's either going to stay or he's going to go elsewhere. I know that sounds simple, but
wow.
they got a lot of things to figure out. It's a new organization. If you had asked me during the Doug Gibbs era, I could have had a different answer for you. But it's a different era now, and That's where we are in today's New Orleans Pelicans organization.
That's
Wow.
right. I think
So-
David Griffin will figure it out.
Yeah, so going back to the Lakers here, Brandon, they've been tied to Ty Lue, Monty Williams. Ultimately, who's the best fit for that job, in your opinion?
Both for various reasons. And I don't mean to be bipartisan, but here's what I'll say. You look at Monty Williams, you look at the Sixers in the playoffs right now.
Yep.
I was courtside at the Bulls Sixers game a couple weeks ago, regular season game at the United Center, and I just looked at Monty Williams' body language. He has the pulse of that organization, kind of the same way Lue had when he was under David Blatt as an assistant coach. He's a listening ear. He's getting back into coaching after death in his family, after exits in the NBA playoffs when he coached the Pelicans, and that's the key word, Pelicans. If you want Anthony Davis, a person who's close to Monty Williams, you would go with that.
It's a great point, yeah.
Williams also has a relationship. Yeah, he also has a relationship with Kevin Durant. And so you look at that aspect in the summertime. If you go with Ty Lue, you got somebody who's won a championship with LeBron James. And I will say that I believe that Vlade Divac saved Luke Walton from himself after the departure in Los Angeles. But when you look at that situation, I had gone on record and said as far back as November that Mark Jackson and Jason Kidd were two people of interest if Luke Walton was fired. And a report recently came out that said that the Lakers had actually reached out to Jason Kidd during the season. And, my source that shared that information is pretty tied into what's going on the Kidd side. But what I can tell you is with a new potential president of basketball operations in tow and with Pelinka kind of calling shots, that Kidd dream may be dead. If Magic was still there, it would be a different story.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you this, Brandon. In regards to the Lakers, there's a lot of finger pointing going on right here. Injuries, LeBron's overwhelming, grip on the organization, coaching incompetence. At the end of the day, what led to this tumultuous season that the Lakers had?
Two things. Expectations going into the season once you got LeBron. Actually, it's three things. The expectations when LeBron came was one. Two was the potential of Anthony Davis joining the team, which meant that certain teammates that were on that current team would be shipped, which meant that there would be a distrust that players had because LeBron is represented by clutch, as is Anthony Davis. And then lastly, LeBron James' injury on Christmas Day. If you guys pay attention and follow me on Twitter, I tweeted on January 11th that, LeBron James' injury was more complex than was being reported by media outlets. LeBron James could have missed the rest of the season after that. He ended up coming back January 31st against the Clippers and was not 100%. I was out in Charlotte at the All-Star game, and I just sat and I watched him and how he played and how he just looked a little wobbly on the court. And LeBron James, he and I are the same age, graduated high school the same year, and I as a person growing up watching, or at least being in college and high school watching the NBA, I've always cheered for him, so I have no ill will towards him. But he didn't look like himself in that game when I really just sat and watched him. And you need 100% LeBron James in order to be successful on any organization. You need a little bit older, and he's appeared in 8 NBA Finals. He's made 8 NBA Finals appearances. He's played in All-Star games. He's played in Olympics. And I think that injury was a blessing in disguise because he performs better when people doubt him. And, everybody's on the Warriors bandwagon. They may have some issues they need to figure out. So right. I really think that this summer is a rededication to really himself. And I think that, really and truly those three things that I mentioned changed the whole trajectory of their season.
So there's been a couple of things on Twitter with KD, with Klay Thompson, almost looking a little disinterested. Steph Curry always does his 3-point shot and runs into the hallway there. There was a video of KD kind of like, all right, come on, man, let me just get on the court. They give up a 31-point lead in the playoffs. Do you think this is a mentally weak team?
No, I wouldn't say it's mentally weak. I would say that this team, people have figured them out. They invented what today's NBA basketball is, and other teams have followed suit in replicating that.
Big time.
Small ball is a thing. I spoke to Charles Barkley recently, and he told me he could not play in today's NBA small ball era, which is interesting for him because as a 6'6" or listed as 6'6" power forward who was really a 3-4-5 like a DeMarcus or a Draymond Green, you would think he'd flourish, but they're too quick. You have bigs that play like threes and twos. You have Kevin Durant who's 6'10", playing at the three, and there's a cross between George Gervin and Tracy McGrady, and a little Dr. J mixed with MJ. This is the tweener era of basketball, and so I think teams have caught up, and I think you began to see that in the NBA playoffs last year with the Houston Rockets when they took the Warriors to 7 games. They were a Chris Paul injury away from making it to the finals, and so I wouldn't count out the Warriors because they're the champs. To beat the champs, you got to beat the champs. But I do think somebody like Patrick Beverly does light fire under their butt, and I think this is the first year the Warriors are just not the clear-cut favorite. But I'm not ready to write them off just yet. It's just a 1-1 series.
All right, fair enough. And while you were answering that question, Charles Barkley just actually stepped into the studio. I had a question for you.
Oh, God. He loves when I do this stuff, Brandon.
All right, Brandon, listen. Let's talk free agency. Give me your best guess. Where does KD end up?
Los Angeles Lakers.
Wow. Really?
No!
All right, just to specify, I did say KD, not AD.
I heard you.
All right.
Really?
I like it. I like it. All right, what about Kyrie?
Kyrie is a little bit more difficult. I can tell you that.
Literally.
Folks that I speak with have shared with me, he keeps his thoughts close to his vest. I think many people just assume that Kevin Durant and Kyrie are just going to team up and go somewhere. And I think that, people said the same thing last summer about Kyrie and Jimmy Butler. They're such great friends. They're going to go here. They're going to go there. We'll see. If you had to ask me today, I have to take Kyrie at his word. He said, if I'll stay in Boston if you'll have me, I have to take him at his word. He's a guy that has ties to Boston. His dad played at Boston University. His godfather is Rod Strickland. He played for the Knicks and a few other teams. And, many people think because he's from West Orange, New Jersey, and he actually has respect for Jason Kidd, that, the Nets would be a clear-cut favorite as well. But I have to take him at his word for now with the Boston Celtics because that's what he said.
Let's talk playoffs, Brandon. So on the East side, we've got 2 series that are knotted up at this point. We've got a couple games going on here tonight. The Bucks are up 1-0 in a pretty dominating game, one with Blake Griffin out. We know that. The Pacers, the Celtics took care of business, but God, it was ugly, shooting 37% from the floor. In the East, what series has you the most intrigued at this point? Which one has your eye?
Brooklyn and Philadelphia.
Okay. Love it.
Brooklyn and Philadelphia. What you say?
No, I said I like that. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that, you mentioned the Boston Celtics. I think that that series could be an upset as well. The Indiana Pacers have been playing brilliant basketball in spite of not having their all-star and Victor Oladipo, but the buyout market, they were able to grab Wes Matthews, and they already had a scrappy team. They had Tyreek Evans, Thaddeus Young, and other people. And, you look at that first half in game 1 against the Celtics. I mean, they ended up blowing, I think that in the third quarter, the Celtics went on a 15-1 or 15-0 run, thanks to the old reliable Al Horford and Kyrie Irving. And I just don't see Indiana as a team that's just going to lay down and let you kill them on the basketball floor. And so I look at those 2 series as the ones that are really exciting. We know what Milwaukee's going to do. I think, when you look at Toronto and Orlando, you saw that Kyle Lowry came out in game 2 and put the pedal to the metal. But I'm really impressed with Orlando even making it to the playoffs. They were inconsistent at points during the season. You saw DJ Augustine do his thing in game 1, and Vucevic has been their all-star all year. But to go back to your initial question, the Nets and the Sixers could go either way, and so could Indy and Boston.
Gotcha. So first round on the West side, of course, we know the Boogie's out. He's got the quad issue. Looks like he's going to be out for some time, if not the playoffs here. Any risk? Of course, the Clippers had a historic comeback this week. Any risk there in round one, or at this point, do you think the Warriors just buckle down and take this series pretty handedly?
I think next series can go 6 or 7 games, actually.
Wow. Okay. Looking at the Nuggets Spurs too. Of course, it took a heroic effort by Jamal Murray in game 2, to tie that one up 1-1. Should the Nuggets be on upset alert at this point, Brandon?
You can't sleep on Pop. I mean,
no.
He is the NBA's Bill Belichick.
Big time.
Wow.
Yep, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I had one of his former players that he won a championship with, Devin Brown, on the Scoopy Radio podcast, and we talked just about that comparison, how Belichick and Pop have been able to take these teams or scout players that nobody has heard of. I mean, before the Spurs, what the heck is a Manu Ginobili? Oh, I remember when NBA Live 03 came out, they used to call him Emmanuel Ginobili. They got his name right, but
yep.
Like, what is Emmanuel Ginobili? What is a Manu Ginobili? Well, he's a multiple NBA champion, and he's going out on top. So when you look at Pop and what he's been able to do over the years, taking guys that are role players and whipping them into shape, you can't sleep on Pop.
Yep. Is he the greatest coach of all time, Brandon?
He's up there.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wasn't around to see Red Auerbach coach. I just grew up watching
Right,
Phil Jackson.
right.
But here's what Phil Jackson did do. Phil Jackson coached guys that were stars, Hall of Famers, etc., and Shaq, Kobe, Michael, Rodman, Scottie Pippen. Greg Popovich molded Hall of Famers. And it all started when he traded Dennis Rodman to the Bulls for Will Perdue. That's saying something.
Right.
And so, I think, I had Robert Ory on the Scoopy Radio podcast, and I asked him about the differences between playing for Phil and playing for, Popovich, and he said, playing for Phil was easy. Pop was more complex, and he runs the Spurs like a well-oiled machine in a business. So, if you're looking for star power, you go to Phil. If you're looking for the slow-cooked meal and the long-standing meal, you go to Pop.
Was Robert Ory wearing all of his rings when he came on the Scoopy Podcast Radio?
No. We actually took a sit-down. We were at a NBA 2K, like a event that had, it was like almost like what the All-Star game is for the NBA. It was like an All-Star 2K League situation. So it was like him and a bunch of other players and former players and trainers and Ronnie 2K. And basically, I pulled him to the side and we taped it. And he said a lot of insightful things.
Nice. So, Brandon, final question here. We're finally, it looks like we're going to see the matchup in the West that we all want to see in the second round, and that's the Rockets and Warriors. With Boogie out, do the Rockets have a chance? Is this the year that someone takes care of the Warriors?
Yeah, they have a chance, but don't sleep on the Portland Trailblazers.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
One more before we get them out of here. Brandon, you're always showing Cleveland love. My Cavaliers obviously aren't in the playoffs. Jay shakes his head every time I bring up my Cleveland teams. Who's going to coach our team next year? Any who you got? Who you got for me?
I haven't heard anything. Maybe they hiring you. I don't know. I think Cleveland has a lot of issues that they need to figure out. Number one, what they're going to do with J.R. Smith, whether they see Kevin Love in the long-term plans, and is Colin Sexton the point guard of the future for them. And I think that it doesn't matter who you replace them with as coach. Any team that LeBron James leads, they struggle for a couple of years before they start figuring things out. And so, when you look at the coaching ranks, I kind of see a situation like with the Phoenix Suns did, where they hired Igor last season, or that I feel like they're going to find somebody that's like a scout or somebody who's been overseas and respected for a while. I don't see why they wouldn't feel the need to get a big splash with a name when they're still trying to figure out their identity, at least for now. And that's no disrespect to the city of Cleveland. I love Cleveland.
I know you do, my man.
All
Go
right.
give him a follow at Scoop B. Brandon, where can everyone find all your great work?
You guys can subscribe to the Scoop B Radio Podcast, which is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn app, or simply by visiting scoopbradio.com. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at ScoopB, Instagram and Snapchat, both at Scoop_B. And make sure to check out my work at Basketball Society online and heavy.com as well.
I love it, Brandon. We love having you on. Keep up the awesome work. Keep grinding. Love to have you back on sometime soon.
Anytime, man. Thanks for having me, y'all.
All right, Brandon. All right. Great stuff. That was Brandon Robertson. One of my favorite guests of all time.
Oh, yeah. I love that he references the dates of his tweets. And they're always, he gives great, bold predictions in Twitter. And they come true.
When you're an insider, you have to.
Yeah.
And he brings the knowledge. You listen to his radio podcast. He's had on some incredible guests. He talked about Robert Ory.
Great sourcing.
He's had Mark Cuban.
Right.
It's crazy. Go check it out.
Yeah.
Brandon, appreciate it as always.
Well, Dave, let's go from Scoop B to Scoop Less. Let's go to the Fringe Binge.
Worst transition we've ever done. Because it is time for the Fringe Binge.